Get that footage of Diddy.
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day. Perhaps.
So this one night, 50 called me up, and they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. We was talking about old time shit. Sit down with Black Hands, sit down with with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing.
Diddy really screwed up, and I'm not referring to his criminal trial, which has him sitting in prison right now, but it has to do with something that happened right before he got arrested. If you've seen the Netflix documentary about Diddy, Diddy The Reckoning, which 50 Cent produced, there's some footage there that had never been seen before. This is a photographer that Diddy hired to follow him around and document his life. That footage ended up going to 50 Cent.
And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. Pot just had died.
When 50 Cent dropped his Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Reckoning, many believed the focus would remain strictly on Diddy, his rise, his influence, and his eventual collapse. That clarity didn't last. Online discussion quickly shifted, pulling Snoop Dogg into the conversation through rumors suggesting his silence had meaning, that he was protected, or that he was missing because certain details never appeared in the film. Those claims expanded as comments from Gene Deal and others were selectively reshaped, combined with old interviews, vague clips, and secondhand audio to support accusations far stronger than the facts allow. Social media did what it does best. It amplified speculation, turned silence into implication, and convinced audiences another major exposure was coming. Remove the hype, however, and what remains is far less dramatic, built mostly on recycled commentary and exaggerated interpretations rather than solid proof. In this breakdown, we cut through the noise to trace how these claims began, what was actually said, what the documentary included and excluded, how Snoop responded, and where the line clearly falls between confirmed facts, denials, and what remains unproven as the story continues to evolve.
It's from his podcast with Dave Mays, and he's speaking on, Tupac and Snoop being cool, and how, after Tupac got killed, Snoop started hanging out with Diddy. And, he also speaks on how, Snoop, he did the Steve Harvey show with Diddy after Tupac got killed. Check this out.
Okay. Let's download it right now.
Then you look at the scenario how everybody used Pac to make their stuff famous or make their project better. You got people who use their songs for Pac and tell them how much they love Pac, but they do songs for Puffy. You got Steve Harvey, old big ass. This motherfucker telling, well, Pac, according to everybody else, he brings Snoop and Puffy on there and say, these the dudes who running this in the East Coast, West Coast.
What's up, Snoop?
What's up, huh? Hey, whoa, wait a minute, fellas here, hold on. I know all about this East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing here, but we in Chicago now. This rivalry stuff, we gotta stop it, man. We stop that, we stop a lot of this violence.
Yo, Steve, check this, man. All that East Coast, West Coast stuff is a bunch of media hype. It's been my dog from day one, you know what I'm saying? It's all good between me and him. That's my peoples.
For real, that's what we came in for. We came in to light it up and ride it up. We making this shit happen.
Now, Pac, if you love Pac so much, how you with the motherfucker that everybody say got something to do with the first get down that happened to Pac in New York, then the second one.
What you think about Suge comments? And I never asked you this before, but did you have an issue with Snoop hanging out with Diddy after Tupac got killed?
I always felt that was wrong. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm talking about from that. Like now, okay, you know what I mean? I'm 46, Snoop probably early 50s. If he figured out now, he might go by the opinion like, okay, Puffy had nothing to do with Pac. We grown now. If he want to be his friend, no problem. But back then, that was just awkward. You know what I mean? And the reason why it was awkward to me that I never even like it because you knew how Pac felt about this individual. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with him, you probably could have said, you know what, I probably ain't gonna come out, publicly with this because until things clear up. So I really know I could be certain that You know, they didn't have nothing to do with Pac, but it's like, it was no, you know, okay, it is what it is. So that I never really respected that back then.
So you had an issue with it, you didn't like it?
Never really liked it. It just was a strange look because you was Pac boy, you know what I mean? Puffy, you know, it's clear they had some issues with Pac, and Pac died, and all of a sudden you chilling with Puffy. Back then it just, okay, now you can say what you want. You all grandfathers, I guess, you know what I mean? That's different now. But back then I think it was weird, it was tasteless, you know what I mean? It didn't seem like you really had that much love for Pac. You could have just, you know what I mean, unless he pressured them or like questioned Puffy, like, yo, what's up with this? What's up with that? Then you could say, you know what I mean?
Snoop Dogg's name never appeared in court filings, indictments, or the federal case that resulted in Diddy's conviction. Still, online narratives pushed him toward the center of serious accusations without evidence. That shift wasn't driven by proof, but by perception. His long-standing presence in the music industry meant his career overlapped with powerful figures during hip-hop's most turbulent era. After the documentary aired, remarks from a former insider were loosely interpreted to suggest discomfort because not everything made the final cut, and that single suggestion was enough to ignite speculation. Rumor-focused platforms quickly ran with the idea that material was withheld to avoid broader fallout, turning visibility and industry connections into suspicion. Old clips, recycled interviews, and unverified claims were repackaged as evidence, while silence was framed as guilt and association was mistaken for involvement. Yet when each element is examined individually, none of it demonstrates wrongdoing, only that he operated in the same industry during the same time as others now under scrutiny.
Like I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from My Deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one-on-one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door, doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with y'all? What's up with you and Pac? You got a problem with Pac? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pac. So that's different, you know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, you know, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, you know, he loved Pac. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that. Well, Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep, you know what I mean? I pulled up on him and just, but I'm the type of person, I never been a bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pac, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes, if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem, I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through, I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. You know, Pac just had died. You know what I mean? Like, he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie, he gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do, but it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. When they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like, I really felt in my heart like, man.
This is where the real danger emerges. When proximity becomes proof, suspicion outweighs facts. With every repost, the narrative drifts further from reality. In moments like this, volume replaces credibility, and the loudest claims are often the weakest. Sean Combs. The Reckoning was never positioned as an industry-wide takedown. It was clearly focused on one individual and one documented case. The film followed Diddy's rise through Bad Boy Records, the power structures that protected him and the long-standing patterns of control tied to his conviction, grounding its story in victim testimony, verified records, and the legal process that led to a 50-month sentence. What it did not do was assign blame beyond the evidence or pull unrelated figures into criminal narratives. No part of the documentary accused Snoop Dogg of misconduct or suggested his involvement. Claims that footage or names were intentionally withheld remain unproven speculation, not fact. And 50 Cent has consistently stated that only information that could be verified and legally defended was included.
He was doing a documentary thinking he was going to come out triumphant.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how this started, is he started filming himself and getting this footage because he thought he was going to beat everything. Okay,
Diddy
that makes sense. Okay.
has a relationship
with Netflix. I knew that.
With
Ted Sarandis. I saw that. Yes. Okay.
And he's filming it there. But of course, when you get, obviously it wasn't a clean sweep on the prosecutor's side, but you're still going to prison.
Yeah.
He basically kind of scraps it. It's not also Netflix is saying, because they commissioned it, right? Netflix is saying, all right, cool, just turn over what you got. And what we'll do, we'll make it what it is because we're just following reality. Diddy's like, well, hold on now. If I lost the case, I'm down to still do it with you, but I got to be able to control it. Now, Diddy was probably going to kind of shape this doc to make it look like, hey, this was malicious prosecution. They kind of went really hard at me. I'm not a perfect guy, but I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy was like, I need to be able to craft it. And Netflix was like, no, you're not. And he's like,
well, my question is, did he sign the footage over to Netflix so they own it? Like, how were they able to do this without his?
No, but he didn't pay for it. So essentially, they're calling it a payment error. So essentially, the deal falls apart, or he's like, we're not going to do this.
So awkward.
And the people who did the work that have all this footage, they're like, so wait, you told us to film because this is going to be on Netflix. Now you're saying Netflix doesn't exist and we're not getting paid because Diddy was going to pay with Netflix money. And Netflix realized this and they went to the filmers and said, hey, give us.
If anything, the documentary stood out for its restraint in a media environment driven by shock and exaggeration. It avoided naming individuals unless their roles were supported by records or credible testimony that could withstand scrutiny. That approach is exactly why claims about hidden or suppressed footage continue to fall apart. No verified material has surfaced, no court documents point in that direction, and no investigators have identified Snoop as part of any inquiry. On the contrary, he publicly supported the project after its release, aligning himself with its creator and signaling there was no behind-the-scenes tension. That reality contradicts the narrative of quiet panic or concealed fear, because public solidarity doesn't align with the behavior of someone worried about what might surface next.
Prison of a modern-day rhetorical genius. A modern-day rhetorical genius. We're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right, this guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else, and really what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is in fact rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on.
One frequently recycled claim traces back to remarks from Courtney Burgess, who alleged he possessed flash drives connected to Kim Porter and suggested they contained sensitive material involving well-known figures. Online speculation quickly filled in the gaps by attaching names without evidence. Critical context was ignored as Porter's children publicly rejected the authenticity of anything attributed to her, and authorities have never verified the contents of those drives. From a legal standpoint, unconfirmed material proves nothing. To date, no authenticated documents, footage, or filings have named anyone or supported these claims. Instead, hints became assumptions, assumptions turned into certainty, and misinformation spread faster than facts. Rumors evolved into headlines, headlines hardened into narratives, and credibility was lost. Simply possessing unverified material is not proof of wrongdoing. Legal standards require validation and reliability, standards social media routinely bypasses. That is why claims of pressure or scrutiny collapse under review, as there is no indication of questioning, investigation, or legal linkage tied to these allegations as of December 2025.
Because he wanted them to both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right?
Corey.
He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000, and that money never went to Keefe or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain, because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing isn't recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just gonna start making y'all blank disappear. Man, first I'm gonna take your records off the radio. Then I'm gonna erase your social security number. Take your birth certificate out flies. I'm gonna do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in I'll drop $1 million? Just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head, and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says Black Rob. What song came up? I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he...
Claims from Suge Knight have resurfaced for years, repeatedly accusing Snoop Dogg of betrayal and tying him to events surrounding Tupac Shakur's death, especially whenever industry pressure intensifies. These statements are recycled allegations, not new evidence. They originate from prison interviews designed to provoke attention through controversy, not from verified findings, and none have ever been proven. Snoop has consistently denied the accusations, describing them as false narratives fueled by old rivalries and personal resentment rather than facts. Most importantly, despite decades of investigations into Tupac's killing, law enforcement has never charged Snoop, never named him a suspect, and never linked him to the crime in any official capacity. These recurring claims may be loud and familiar, but they remain unsupported and not credible.
For being out there and allowing Misha to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family. He vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never f***ing with her again, and I ain't never f***ing with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing a Hoboken hustle, trying to fool him, brother. But had he killed my man or some like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, you know, Suge made Puff feel like, I'ma get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason, he was mad at Puff. And Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast to do dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It wasn't no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on him behind that.
Online narratives often confuse repetition with proof, where constant exposure makes unverified claims feel legitimate even when facts never support them. That psychological effect is powerful and frequently exploited, while critical context is pushed aside. The breakdown between Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg occurred decades ago amid documented business disputes, personal fallout, and public feuds. Accusations rooted in that era deserve scrutiny, not blind acceptance. Repeating them today doesn't add credibility. It simply turns old noise into louder noise.
I don't know where you get all the extras from, but they had a conversation at the hospital and all that. That's absolutely not true. Say less, if you know what I mean. But instead of just saying less, since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefy D, because he talking too much. Raising them trying to do stuff for Puffy because they say he talking too much. They even had somebody talk to me and say, hey, you can help him get free. I said, look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to Nobody County Jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell no. I ain't wishing bad on him at all, because I don't want to see nobody go to prison. And like I told you last time, since I find out more details about certain things, I probably would go to the Vegas County Jail if me and Keefy D with Sellies. We have a good conversation after I give him, six upside his head, another 6 in his body, and another 2. But yeah, that's definitely didn't happen with Snoop didn't go.
A popular online narrative claimed Snoop Dogg went silent after the documentary's release. Even a surface-level review shows that claim doesn't hold up. He remained active, continued posting, spoke about music and business, and openly supported 50 Cent critics' cherry-picked moments to sell a disappearance that never occurred. This illusion of silence was created through selective attention. Facts that didn't fit the storyline were ignored, while normal activity was reframed as avoidance. There were no frantic statements, no deleted accounts, and no withdrawal from public life. Instead, he stayed visible and focused on ongoing ventures, including his work with Death Row Records. In reality, there was no retreat, only a deliberate refusal to engage with rumors lacking proof or substance.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout boxing. Shit, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. It was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names cause like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt writing my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and the said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store, fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Style. So what have I done to you? For you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you.
The real distinction between Snoop Dogg and Diddy isn't fame or influence, it's evidence. One case moved through years of investigations, testimony, and legal rulings that ended in a conviction. The other exists almost entirely within rumor, association, and online speculation. As of December 2025, there are no federal charges, no indictments, and no active cases tied to Snoop. That difference matters. In a time when powerful figures face real consequences, the absence of law enforcement action isn't protection. It indicates that evidence simply isn't there. Industry pressure doesn't equal guilt, and collapsing the line between verified facts and viral narratives only distorts reality. Right now, accuracy matters most.
There's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
Perhaps. Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean it's not true. Of course. But they relied on stolen footage, okay, is what they relied on. And then they ask about the history of 50 and him, issue that they've had. What's the one you just pulled up, Rob?
This is where they talk about the feud, and then I also have 50 Cent talking about Diddy's reaction to the documentary.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is so funny. But watch this one here. Go ahead, Rob.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me, type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, you know, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I mean, so that's that part, right? The fact that the feud with the two of them, hey, let me take you shopping. Like, you say that to a girl in the 50s, like, what are you talking about? Take me shopping. How do you ever flip a mind? You want to take me shopping? And then last but not least, Rob, the other clip you have of 50 is talking about how he thinks Diddy's going to like this documentary. Go ahead, Rob.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
You can't even hold it.
Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but you know.
At this moment, Snoop Dogg is caught in one of the internet's most predictable cycles, where uncertainty becomes accusation, Old rivalries are recycled as evidence, and speculation is marketed as urgency. Remove the dramatic headlines and reaction clips, and the reality is straightforward. There is no verified footage, no charges, and no disappearance. This isn't a story about panic or damage control. It's an example of how quickly narratives form when a powerful figure falls and anyone in the same orbit becomes suspicious by default. As developments around Diddy continue, the real question isn't who gets pulled into the next rumor wave, but whether facts will be allowed to lead. Will evidence guide the conversation, or will assumptions continue to assign guilt before truth has a chance? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for more updates, and as always, stay informed and stay grounded.